Okay, welcome to the meeting. A couple of points of order. Masks need to remain on to the meeting. If you have cell phones, please silence those so they're not going off and ringing during the meeting. The microphone setup should be able to pick up your voice while you're sitting, so you don't have to need to leave your seats to come and do it in here. So if we're ready, we'll follow the same procedures that we've done before, which is to have Joe start with his, Marshall will come in with the budget portion, and we'll go into questions.
I hope you can all hear me through this mask. So this November, Raymond's going to vote on the withdrawal. It's an important choice for the education of pre-K through grade 12. Raymond has been part of the RSU with Wyndham for the past 10 years. And this process was brought forth by Raymond citizens who believe that Raymond will have more control, a better educational opportunity for their students, and the return to when Raymond was a single-member school unit. Raymond is once again in charge of their future with their own school committee. Currently, Raymond is in the minority position on the RSU board. Raymond's members do not have enough votes to stop or overturn any decision on Wyndham initiatives. Look at the Wyndham initiative in the bus garage that Raymond taxpayers pay for and get no return from, since the buses are kept in Raymond and Raymond drivers do not get to use the locker room. Wyndham needs middle school space for students, yet they refuse to use the space available in Raymond and Jordan Small, choosing to lease portables instead at a cost to taxpayers. These are the reasons for withdrawal. Demonstrates that we are a one-way RSU and not taking a holistic approach to utilizing available space. Withdrawal will protect Raymond schools when budgets get challenging and consolidation is proposed. We function very well as a standalone unit in the past. Raymond will maintain school choice and still have a contract with Wyndham so students can continue to attend school there. The budget committee of the withdrawal process believes Raymond can add pre-K while reducing costs. Just so you know, Raymond sends 18% of students to the RSU and pays 36% of the cost. How did we get here? Wyndham wanted to build a new middle school and not send students to Raymond Jordan Small Middle School. Raymond taxpayers are going to have to pay for the middle school. The RSU board was looking to close down Jordan Small Middle School as an option. An agreement was reached between the Raymond Select Board and the RSU. Raymond would pay a lesser percentage of total costs, because the original agreement, we were paying 45% of the cost. Our total student percentage has dropped. Any new construction would be paid for by the town where the construction was taking place. Wyndham would pay any new construction or repairs in Wyndham, and Raymond would do the same here in Raymond. How did we get here? Wyndham decided to build a new garage for public works and lease part of that garage to the RSU for bus storage and maintenance. Indirectly, the taxpayers of Raymond were going to be subsidizing the new garage built in Wyndham for the town, not the RSU. The RSU purchased modulars to use instead of sending students to Jordan Small Middle School. The Raymond Select Board asked to meet with the RSU board and their attorney. They were told there would be no meeting and no questions were answered as to the scheme of the building this new garage. This caused a petition to be taken out and a vote on withdrawal to occur. If the town votes to withdraw, Raymond will guarantee current staffing levels and allow all staff to continue with their current benefits. I think it's important to realize that a lot of questions have been around the budget. The budget was developed using the RSU budget, and the proposal is to take whatever is in that RSU budget and move it to Raymond and have the same budget levels. The budget for withdrawal provides for a school resource officer and free breakfast and lunch for all K-4 students. It also includes all programs currently at RSU 14. The cost sharing contract is up for negotiation. Currently, it is 65% Wyndham, 35% Raymond. Raymond pays a much higher share financially than is the proportion of students. As I said, we only have 18% of students in the whole RSU. Raymond's share is well over $10 million and growing, and Marshall will tell you later that the average increase has been 4.7% a year in the school budget, while the Raymond school population has not grown much at all. Raymond will always continue to pay more because of our state property valuation. Since the funding formula is based on valuation, land valuation, Raymond's valuation is a little over $1 billion. Wyndham's about 1.6 to 1.7 billion. If Raymond votes to withdraw, maybe there will be a sense of community, parents and community members will volunteer more time. Now, this statement has caused all kinds of consternation. Raymond's always had a very good volunteer program from parents. If Raymond votes to withdraw, our new school board will be voted in January to prepare for July 1st start date. There will be a 10-year contract with Wyndham High School, so Wyndham High School will be the school of guaranteed acceptance. There will still be school choice available, so students in Raymond can go to Carabasset Valley, Hebron, NYA, any other public school to reach a superintendent's agreement. To date, 39 school units have withdrawn from their districts and operating their own LEAs. There will be a sufficient budget to hire staff in order to ensure an appropriate transition. And this is where we get to the budget, and I'll turn it over to Marshall.
Hopefully you can all see that. I need to preface my comments by saying that this budget is a pro forma budget that takes effect on July 1st, 2021. 2021, that's correct. And it is taken from the RSU 14 version 9 budget as they approved, I believe, late April of this year. I had a difficulty doing this because all my budget experience in the past is always been from actual to budget. This is a budget to budget. I think it's as accurate as it can be. I will say that administration has had an opportunity to look at it. They have recommended a couple of small changes, I believe, and I will integrate that as I see them. So going forward, secondary costs, which is grades 9 to 12, including special ed, without parentheses, have been reduced to eliminated state tuition, which is going around, right now, $10,753, and will go to last 311.4, based on their average increase. School choice will remain in effect. I believe we have 2 students at Hebron now, there is others at Western Academy, and so forth. The average expense that the town of Raymond is an additional $10,000 per year to accommodate those students. The students that, to my knowledge, would be 2 selecting choice for the school year 21-22. There are 8 in addition. And those are the numbers that I have given by administration. $140,000 has been added for the course of the school resource officer for both campuses. I understand there's been quite a bit going back and forth between Kevin Joyce, the sheriff of Cumberland County, and the police chief. There is a security school resource officer in place now. The $140,000 represents a sole employee for Department Raymond. Assuming a 3-year contract, that's $140,000, and then it drops to $95,000, so it's 203. Kevin Joyce wants us to buy a car. $180,000 has been added to nutrition, like free breakfast and lunch for K-4 grades. He's fucking really good. Sorry. This has been estimated 220 students for $4.54 a day for 177 days. This does not include any refunds for free and reduced coming back from the federal government. This is a gross amount. The student budget submitted by Raymond administration remain in full effect. That means that the Raymond administration produced 2 cost centers, 51 and 71, representing Raymond Elementary and Jordan Small School. I made 2 adjustments to those. One, in RES, I took out $53,000, which was, my understanding, was a one-time cost representing security enhancements. And the other one was SRO that brought into the line above. Number 5, subtractions have been made from the RSU V9 maintenance facilities accounts to eliminate some non-recurring costs, which will be expended for the 2021. I was told which ones they were. I forget what they were. One-time expenses. It's my understanding that there is no capital budget for either RES or Jordan Small for 21-22. Additions to staff have been partially carried in the pre-withdrawal expenses and increased in the budget to reflect those positions that would be hired after 7 of 21. We would obviously need to hire a superintendent of schools, a special ed director, and a business manager before this takes effect, but those have to happen after the town approval of that happens. Those expenses are carried. The school board assumption, this is an assumption on my part, I assumed 5 seats. The town of Raymond has several boards, with the exception of one they're all. The Raymond School Department has existed before merger in 2005. So that is the reason I picked 5 members. If the town school board wishes to expand to 7, that would be a choice of superintendent. That would be 5 is the text. There's no longer any shared employees. I understand that there are 2 shared employees. I've made arrangements in this budget to accommodate them if they choose to come full-time to Raymond. If not, the position is, funding is there for a person that may want to come full-time. Prefer not to be in position for names. Okay. This is a preliminary budget that takes effect on July. Okay. I'm sorry. I want to make sure it's accurate.
You can't see it.
I'm sorry?
You can't see it. You can't see it.
Can't see it through the fog either, John. There's a pre-K kindergarten program that I put into the budget for 130,005. So it's space for 20 students and 3 staff. There's been a lot of discussion about the students and 3 staff. I understand the school with a 16 per wall. I've over budgeted by 4 students. There's staff of 3, I assume 1 lead teacher, 2 assistants, usual staff of student issue about 5 and 1. I think in pre-K, that's probably appropriate. I can't see doing 10 and 1 in that. The Raymond Elementary School budget has been brought forward from the RSU. The Jordan Small Middle School has been brought forward from secondary tuition is calculated by, we have estimated 180 students starting the 21-22 year at the state rate of 11,500. Plus a factor for special ed. I was told that a reasonable factor for special ed is $10,000 per 5 students. I carried 17% of our student body as benefit. I apologize, I may be using the wrong word, you know, the word that I used, and usual amounts. So, identify, I realize that on one student you may spend 20, and on another student you may spend 3. It's an aggregate, it is good for me, and I agree with it from administration. Co-curricular is just carried forward. Co-curricular, my understanding is that activities happen within the school, after club, social clubs, whatever, extracurricular or sports. The security, as I said before, has been carried out on 100,000, that's the SRO. Technology is a budget that we received from Woodbury Associates, the House Technology Department. CIA, curriculum instruction and investment, I need to make a change on that. I need to make several other changes on that, but that one will change that look like 22,000 to include the community development person. Nutrition, 80,000 of that in. School, 50,000, 5 people plus liability insurance. Office of the superintendent will be one person, basically, plus things like liability insurance. So, the business office would be one person plus any software that's required for that, superintendent is in the technology. The operation of needs buildings, that's there's pretty much. Student transportation is an estimate that I made. I am aware of the fuel usage for the school system, 17,600 gallons, a mix of diesel and gas. Calculated at $3.50 a gallon. In January, when I did this, it was $3.05. Nobody knew what the fuel prices were going, so I bumped it up. So I carried it 17,600 gallons at $3.50 plus 101,000 for maintenance and repairs. That includes oils and tires and the rest of that would be salaries. I have the salary list for the support staff. Special education is a direct pulse from VNI. We're not going to get into that area. I respect special ed needs there, so I carried it. Whatever the error should put in there. Additions to staff. These are staff members that will be hired to start performing duties after July 1st. Talked about a special ed director, a business manager, and a superintendent. They would all be before. After the start date, we need a facilities manager, education manager, a technology person, a food service, and a couple of tasks for special. I'm not sure what the special ed will be. Nobody. But a contingency of $200,000. There's been a discussion about whether we could hire a 3/5 superintendent or not. There's two camps in that argument. To be safe, I put $100,000 in addition in contingency so that the school board can find that they cannot hire a 3/5 when it's reserved. So that's the budget summary. Again, this is a budget that takes effect July 1, 2021. It is not a concrete knife. We have made a couple of changes. Administration has recommended that I make a couple more So if we get into the financial impact, the budget position is if we do nothing, the RSU for the last 6 years has been averaging 4.7 increase per year. So if I do the simple math on that, it's just 11.235 million expense for the county rate of 21-22. Estimated budget after withdrawal is estimated at 9.632 million. That takes out the assistant superintendent, all the new assistant superintendent, the Katahdin School, and a realignment of some of the facilities costs. Existing programs, Teresa may want to address this later, existing programs, if they're there now, they're there later. That is for the budget of the resource officer, for your cost of purchase. I don't know whether you read it this morning or not, there was an article at RSU 16, and they've come up with $100,000 to fund their lunch program. Well, the article is very interesting, but this will covers any expenses on that. So the full budget cost I estimate for 21-22 is about 9.9 million. The savings in working budget is 1.6 million. There are costs that will occur to the town before this budget takes effect. But that was not my charge. My charge was to create an operating budget, 7.1. That's 3 under the bus. It's all yours.
Questions?
Dan, you want to come here? I come down with the chair.
So Sarah Davis, Tenny Hill Road. So I just have a couple of questions. So on the special education, you said you were given that number. Can you tell me, I don't know anything about special education, but can you tell me where that number comes from and how that's figured?
Take a look at the version 9, RSU 14 version 9 budget that is on the website. There is a category, awesome directorship, where it is, I think it's directorship, called student services. I use the word special ed, they use the word student services. If you run through that, there are instructions on how to read that. And if you run through that budget, pull out everything that has a 100 or 1 minute, and I can explain to you how to decode that. It's on the computer. You will see OT, PT, speech, recite, all those costs. I believe that they put health
Okay, I thought you said that you reduced it and you instead used the 10,000 number that you were given, the 10,000 per student that you were given. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but that's what I thought you said.
for 9 and 12.
Okay,
The K8,
got it.
column A to column B.
Got it.
Second year, and that was given to me.
That was given to you by the RSU administration.
I'm sorry?
The RSU 14 administration gave you the 10,000. Okay, that's super helpful. If I go one more. So the capital budget, I've never really, a lot of budgeting, I've never really seen no capital budget. And I can understand that maybe in 21-22, there's no capital budget. Because the facilities are in good shape, but there's got to be a capital budget. So how do you project out, capital expenses? Something's going to happen, the roof's going to have to be fixed. How do you talk about the impact of that?
Capital budget to me is an expense that is amortized over 5 years. I am not aware of any anticipated costs. I have been told there is no capital budget. You will anticipate. I can't go any further than that.
I've never heard of anyone budgeting without some capital cost for facilities, right? And that's just crazy.
Raymond voted to take out a bond for the RSU. So all the capital improvements are in that bond. I can't remember when this was rated. $1.5 million, something like that.
Chris will be here.
Yeah, and so
So
when you talk about the impact to taxpayers, are you telling that story too? Because that's like the total
that's a
impact.
0% loan.
Sure, but it
And
won't have to be.
remember, it's forgivable. It's a forgivable loan.
No interest, 0%. 0% interest over 5 years. They've done some really good things at both schools, capital projects, security enhancements. It's and they got revolving renovation funds from the state to do it. So really brilliant, I think, in my.
I don't believe it's forgivable, but
I was gonna say, imagine if bond is forgivable. It might
Half of
be
it, half of it.
yeah, okay,
Half
some
of
of
it
it
is
is thank you.
forgivable.
Thank you.
Half of it they have to repay at 0.
And I don't think last time, and I don't know if Marshall put it in, I know you needed to do some updates on the budget. I'm not sure if that has been added in, the repayment of that, or if it will be in the next one.
It's not in this one. I had a conversation with Chris earlier. 90,000 was just voted at your meeting, so that's not included. in that. Marshall would.
Yeah, oh, I know you said you needed to do
So
some.
the payment would be 90,000 from that.
All right, let me explain one thing. Started building this budget in January of this year. I took a couple months off in April for a personal reason, and I started building it again. I have no knowledge of things that happened after.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It's just getting the whole story, not
I
any
mean,
piece of where it is.
some of the big infrastructure items was worked out on the roof last year. Asbestos removal has just been recently done. Boilers are either complete now or in process. So a lot of those major items have now been covered. So you're looking at the future building budgets. We'll start to look at that, but part of it, you have to reassess all the major infrastructure items to see if you need to start
Right.
from a capital standpoint, looking at that going forward.
So that'll have to be built sort of bottom up with the takeover and the stuff. That makes sense. Thank you. No, that's it. My next comment I believe was on Colonial Drive. I want to read something. I put my thoughts together because I've been a little frustrated after getting some watched on television and on. In my professional life as a police officer in a local community, and due to that, I'm also a higher standard of behavior that reflects my behavior requests on the I make this comment in all honesty. I feel the same way about the elected officials in this community where I live and pay taxes. I have been disappointed by the tone, response, and accusations being made by members of the committee, especially those of you that are elected. And who are elected by the citizens of Canton. Members of the committee should respect and understand the emotions surrounding the statements and questions being asked. Because of the subject matter, children in this community are our future, and I believe it's our obligation to provide them with the best opportunity possible. I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that our needs for students are ever changing. The reason it's called student services is it includes mental health and comprehensive social and emotional. Often these changes cost money, and I'm impressed with some little students who receive special education services. The school here has acknowledged these changes and has been willing to put money towards enhancement programs that are offered for students in the district. I think it will draw the detrimental to the services our students are currently provided with. The district has acknowledged as well that the social and emotional needs of our students are imperative, especially with the time we are facing right now with COVID. I have lived in this community for 15 years. My children have attended the schools in Raymond for the past 8. Over that time, I've had many frustrations that have been addressed by the professionals within this district. The impact that our current superintendent has had on this district and the community is evident. For example, former superintendent is not known by students within the district. The superintendent Powell has been in his position for a short amount of time. My daughter and son have already come and actually seen him in the building. The superintendent is aware of the issues that still need to be addressed. within this district, in my opinion, and to move forward and build a future and consistency within the district. I think it's important for us to move forward and not continue to rehash the past. None of us can change what has happened, but we can work together to move to the future. My first question, because I did reach out to the superintendent, because I was provided with a budget you said he signed off on, and the budget that he signed off on was 11.694 million, which is roughly 900,000 more than we currently spend as part of the district. And now I'm looking at the budget being provided here, that it's not. So can you understand where the confusion is coming? You're telling me I have the budget, I've gone through it line by line, so that's what you suggested that we do. And I'm looking to provide what was provided to the commissioner and superintendent that was sufficient from an SAU, not what being provided.
Can I answer that, please?
Sure.
Reason being is I had a conversation with Chris Howe before I came up regarding this whole budget thing. And one of the things that he explained to me, the first error was a typo. Marshall and his budget, I keep sucking this thing in, took the 1.8, carried it over. He actually typed 2.8 is what it is. He still carried over the RES. Chris explained to me earlier before this meeting is that there are two budgets that are actually done for each school. One is an actual cost, one is a principal's version of putting it together, is what it is. So what he said to Joycing down with Marshall and talking to Marshall about it, and I've already talked to Marshall about it, and he says it's something that could have very easily have been done if people don't fully understand this. But he said, he took one on one, he took like maybe a principal's version of it on one, and then an actual on the other school. And again, Chris says it's a really easy mistake to make. And I think we have to understand that this is us working from a budget that's a proposed budget, that we don't have the access to all that information. And this is what we were trying to bring forward as a work budget is what it is. That would be the reason why there's a discrepancy between the two. And Chris can explain some more of that when he shows up. But we did talk about that on the phone beforehand. And I just had a chance to talk to Marshall. Pardon me?
Do you have anything to add or to continue on?
My budget is based off the version that I guess by school.
Okay, but what I'm saying to you is the withdrawal agreement, the budget in the withdrawal agreement is 11,694,000. That is not the budget you're saying. So that's why I'm saying, can you see where our confusion is? This document's on the webpage, right? That was provided to the Commissioner of Education, as well as the Superintendent of our district. And so, I mean, it's almost a $2 million discrepancy. This is what Chris signed off on. This is what's in the withdrawal agreement. This budget, the $11 million budget. The budget you're showing us here is $9 million, almost $10 million. So, I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but those two numbers are drastically different.
Right.
This is what he signed off.
We're at 11.7, 10.8. And Chris said they did do a workup. And Marshall, I haven't even had time to really talk to because I think the phone call with Chris was not even an hour before I came up here. That's what it was. So that's why we're just understanding what that discrepancy is. And again, that $1 million was just a typo as far as moving that $2 million point.
So it should have been 10 million. So the budget provided was provided to the Commissioner should have been 10 million.
I can't read it, sorry.
So the budget that should have been provided to the Commissioner of Education and the Superintendent should have been 10 million.
For that 2.8?
You are.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that, I'm sorry.
I just, add something. In the negotiations of the withdrawal agreements, RSU was very clear when they acknowledged, let's say, the budget that was prepared. There's language in the withdrawal agreement that RSU 14 does not prepare or review exhibit F, because the work product solely is withdrawal. I don't think that.
Maybe I was using the incorrect term.
I might jump in there. Chris has been very helpful. And all through the process. And I think that he actually gave us his estimate without some big factors in there, what we're going to be looking at for a budget. My experience in a number of these situations around the state is the budget is a drag. Also talks about it when you go into effect at a certain day. The committee doesn't have access to all the resources for stuff. And, you know, I'd be inclined to, he says, I think it probably ought to be 10-7 or 11-6. Not, he doesn't know everything we put in. I'd be inclined to take that pretty seriously. When we provided this to Commissioner Marshall had not found that mistake, and once he goes into Commissioner, you know, you can't, at this point, that process is going on, and she knows it's an estimate, she knows it's a draft, she knows it's not going to be the final. It's up to the school committee to make that decision, not to withdraw. My experience in most of these situations, the whole withdrawal is really about control, not really about saving money. And you think if we're going to go into this process and save lots of money, that's not realistic, in my view. Because you can't project what students are going to walk in the door, and what they need might be. So, I mean, you need to be prepared to address those things. But to sit here now and say it's going to be for this penny, you can't do it. Chris can't. His budget is an estimate. He knows his issues are going to change with the next year. And coronavirus, what is that going to do for us? Where are those resources coming from? And it's the same problem that Raymond Withdrawal may be facing, that RSU 14 is facing, and every other school district is facing. So, I wouldn't want you to walk away saying, this is gospel, because it's not. It's intended to be draft and projection.
Yeah, we're for a city, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But it's never.
If I might just add something else, you know, what Marshall did was not in the block. He had numerous meetings with school staff, with, you know, with Chris, with other, you know, people. So there was inputs from there. If something, you know, and the fact is, if something didn't get communicated through properly, and there is something that's missing, then we, you know, it will be, you know, we'll address it. It's the intent is not to take any services away from students. The intent is not to take any staff away. That is, you know, built from that standpoint, so that though, you know, anything that's there still remains there. So if there was something that was in some part of the budget that didn't, you know, wasn't identified, that, oh yes, you need to add that in. If they identify that, then we can work with that.
Just want to stress it. Look at the budget. Raymond administration was working.
I just lived here long enough, so I remember having friends who had older students who had to go to town hall to get these papers so that they could print things for their students. The fact that school was delayed often because the town couldn't get around to plowing the school off. So those are things that concern me moving forward. Do we have the stability here, such a small community? I mean, what is the cost going to be of a special election for? That should be a concern for taxpayers. Their taxes are astronomical here for what we get, quite honestly.
So cost for a special election or something like that. It's local and it, you know, is about $2,000.
And when you say taxes are astronomical, 83% of your taxes are in school.
Can I ask another question? So, the school board, you're saying will vote in January to choose them. They'll be put into place by July 1st.
January's an estimate.
I'm not sure how fast that can.
Okay.
But it's good.
Literally,
Leaving fire, fire, and superintendent.
to answer that, if the elections for the school board were January 5th, that school board would meet January 6th, as long as they swear in. So they can start working the day after the election.
And they would be part of the hiring process for the new superintendent.
You would not be a town responsibility.
Well, I'm just looking, by what you said, they would start work July 1st. We're starting
January
January.
1st came.
No, July 1st.
July 1st
is the
July 1st is when the budget starts. That's the start of the fiscal year. The work will start as soon as, their work will start as soon as they're elected.
I think that's why we hired.
We should also realize that last time the two communities joined together, the pre-costs were about $500,000 more. So they hired personnel to do everything, policy, payment, insurances, etc. So what's not calculated in this budget are those transition costs. And I think there's been an estimate of those transition costs in the neighborhood of $600,000. That, all those legal things and everything has to be done, should we withdraw. And then you'd have to hire a superintendent right away, get a special ed. So there's a lot of those transition costs that are not included in that budget. You should be aware of that. This is July 1st budget, that's all I heard.
The website has that.
And that's how, I just wanted to clarify.
That's all.
I have open up, I have another question. So you say that it's increasing 4.7%. Do you anticipate that the Raymond increase would be less than that? Something, I mean, it has to be 3% minimum, right? For cost of living.
I took the last 6 Irish budget increases to the town.
Yeah.
It averages 4.7%, 4.6%. I see no reason for that. With the exception of,
You see, I'm sorry, I've
I
seen.
see that, I do not see a reason for that to vary. With the exception of the impact on COVID, I think that's going to disrupt the whole lot. Looking at it, pre-COVID, it was 4.7 for the last 6 years. If it's 4.3 or 5.2, I have to use the number somewhere.
No, I know, would you expect that to be similar in Raymond, that Raymond's would increase 4.7? Or do you think you could have that to the
I can't anticipate that because it's an RSU 14 budget, it's not a Raymond budget, but it means RSU. Whatever Raymond administrative budget is total, and that the RSU comes back and says, not a Raymond, we're going on 4.7.
But I think to get to the heart of what you're asking, the local board who do a budget for staff and would be presented to the town vote that. It depends on what what costs they have, what are in there on contracts, where that goes. So would it be exactly 4.7, which is what have in there? Probably, but that's an average number. But it would be looked at. Well, the city elements are looked at in the RSU, but you look at it at a little bit level. Smaller subsets. So, would it increase by the same amount, percentage? It
But
depends.
we know health insurance is going to increase, we know salary increases. I mean, we have to anticipate, I would say 3% is the minimum that any company would anticipate. I was just curious if we thought there were savings to be had on that, or we thought we should anticipate a generally same increase. I get that, yes, it has to be voted on, yes, we have to create a budget. I get that, I'm just, but as a person, I have to think, right, about what does this mean for me, what does this mean for my kids? I have 2 kids in the school district, and that's all I think about every day. And all I think about every day is people, right? I'm basically stuck with people. And so what the most concerning thing to me is the idea of a special election. Anything that's not many people turn out in a special election, not in a June or November. Because that's like, If those 5 people are wonderful, we're gonna have the best school on the planet, and if they're not, we're gonna have the worst. And that's just all there is to it, and I don't know any way to think about that differently.
If you lead a horse to water.
I know, but I mean, how many people come out to vote? I guess that's the concrete question.
All that can be done at that point is, the slate is there, you publicize who it is, you have venues, you have candidates, things like that, so people can hear what they're thinking, what their goals and desires are. But you can't drag people to the polls. If they want to go, they'll vote. Historically, in the town, non-gubernatorial and presidential is usually about 50% of what you get at gubernatorial or presidential, and that's just where it is. But I will say that Raymond, as a percentage, typically has higher voting than a lot of people. Because if part of where we're looking here, the thought process behind here too, is let's try and bring the community back into the whole thing. If we look at where things that the town has done, the town has always supported this. Back when the small was the state, the plans went in, they said, we want to build this amazing. The state said, no, it's too big. Raymond said, no, we want to build there. Raymond paid for that in itself. We're not going to, the state did not, Raymond for the use of the school and the community. So the intent is to try and bring the community back into it. I can remember days when we used to have senior meals at the school. We had more things like that. If we can bring the community back there, that is only going to help the school too. So the more we can get people involved in those, yes, they'll come and vote. If they feel that they're not, something's happening, they're not getting a buy-in, then they're less than. So it's a matter of really trying to make sure that people know what the advantages are there and the history that says the town has always supported.
The special election in August was to see if we were going to withdraw or not, had 7% voter turnout.
7%.
So
I didn't know that. So you're not even in politics.
it was approximately like 375 people or something. Yeah.
You were talking about maybe getting horrible people on the board. That's when, again, you get people that these are people in your community, and they may see things differently than you do. I don't think horrible would be a good word to say, but you get people out there that you think would be good on it, and then we start rallying people to do it. But I know that we used to shut down baseball, we used to shut down all sports on Saturdays, and it'd be an all-day thing where a lot of people came to the meeting, when both the town budget and the school budget was on, so everybody really just, could come in, have that say, discuss open communication, that type of thing.
Caitlin, please, and thank you all again for some information. All right, more every meeting. Thank you. I just want to make sure. I think I heard you say, sir, that an anticipated transition cost to be how many hundreds of thousands? Around 600,000. Thank you. I hadn't even registered. That wasn't part of this first year budget.
It's on the website, we posted up.
Understood. And then, second, I also think it was just mentioned that COVID has not been taken into consideration into this first year budget, and everything that the federal government is currently saying is that we will likely be dealing with COVID going into next year. I know already personally, my son is being taught by middle school, being taught by a teacher from the primary, and there's a mix of kids in school, and I just don't. Does this project have enough staff to even allow for starting a school year next year?
No.
Okay.
There's no way to anticipate that. As far as minimum primary teaching student, my wife is a pre-K teacher, she is a student at Blackwood. So the remote is really nothing to do with it.
That's my point, exactly. My point is that it is about staff, and is that there has to be fewer, there's to be a different student-teacher ratio in the schools and remote. We have to make sure that they're all being taught by people who have degrees. And I know that is why my son's being taught by a teacher from Union Primary, because there were fewer teachers from Raymond Elementary School who qualified to teach remotely, and they're still all being used. So I guess.
You cut me off, it's my turn. Please.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
Keep in mind, there has been no adjustment.
You cut me off.
He just cut, he's not done.
There have been no adjustments in the RSU 14 budget for COVID at this point. And so the fact that we're dealing with what is known there. COVID is so it's unknown whether what things are going to look like next year. But we're projecting out 2 years. So all you can do, what you can do is you take that, recognizing that if something changes, it's going to have to be addressed. I mean, it's going to have to be addressed at the RSU level. It would have to be addressed at the local level. I mean, you're committed to supplying the education, so you're going to have to do it. And if it means that what you have to do, the question is that infrastructure. If you create infrastructure to be able to do that now, it's not going away, it's still there. So now you're just going to operate structure, you're going to do things different. If the cost is different, then that'll have to be reflected in the budget. But, how do you budget an unknown number? You can't.
And I understand that. It seems to me that likely there would probably need to be more staff, and just based on what's happening now, and that we could probably make an estimate based on what the needs are now, what they could be if all things stay the same, which looks like, wouldn't it be great if they didn't, but, sorry,
I'm sorry, I think he answered. I just want to add that we rely on high quality teachers, and I would assume that they would have flexibility for both remote and in-person teaching. I'm not sure how the school is split here. Is it 2 on, 2 off, or is it 5 on? What is it? How many are you dealing in your classrooms? 2 days on, 2 days out?
Kids, are you talking about the kids go?
Yes. But your staff is still
Half the kids come on Mondays and Wednesdays, the other.
Yeah, what other, so you have teachers 4 days a week.
And people can choose 100% distance learning as
I
well.
understand that, but who's doing the remote work?
Separate teachers, they separate
And I've been
teachers.
adding
There's
to
specifically just for in-school and teachers particularly for
have been adding.
So the way we put it is, the way we put it is that we have, instead of 6 schools, we have 7. And one is the distance learning school.
it is working incredibly well from a parent perspective, and I cannot, because there's a teacher dedicated to that, it'd be impossible for a teacher to be doing a hybrid in person and online at the same time.
But you can accommodate that request, because a lot of schools are not doing that.
Right.
We will accommodate that request because of the level of teachers we have in the district. As a whole, right?
They would have to be school board starting in January. We can't have this. If you believe the Republican and the Democratic Party, there's a vaccine right there.
Well, I believe the scientists who say that even if there is a vaccine, it's going to take over a year to get everybody vaccinated, so that's a different.
Okay.
Just a quick one, touch base on the Congress that much, I know you said you can't calculate that number. I'm sorry. You said you can't calculate that number. We're contractually obligated, I'm sure William touched on this, but special education, we're required by law to provide services to certain special needs children. What number are you talking about? Are you pointing out the point that she just made that you talked about? Right. We're required by law with special needs kids to provide services. You said you wasn't able to put a number on that. So what's going to happen at the top ranking? I mean, I'm at health and culture, okay, in months. So when you say we got a student down here, that's not in the whole schools that you can't put a dollar on that. It needs to be a number assigned to that because we're contractually contractually obligated under state mandates to provide services to these children. I'm sure the lawyer will know.
I have no problem with that, but that would not be my responsibility. That would be the responsibility of the new board that's put
Well,
forward.
don't you bring the constituents like me, because I was a whole very often, I was probably was, now I'm hearing everything, I have some great concerns. None of this is going to stop publicly. The fact that, what's going to happen when COVID hits the school, we don't have enough teachers now. Okay, so what happens if we lose 10% of our population? I mean, the town is close to 2 months, what school is going to do? Then why do we bring it up right now? Why haven't we taken it? We can't answer these basic questions. Why would the conversation?
Can I just say something really quick? We heard it the other night, and I just heard it now, the tones. You guys, honestly, we're doing the best we can, and I understand.
This is really going to make money, so I'm allowed, I apologize to you, I don't need to.
Okay, and it's not, and I wish we all would just respect that each side. We're just, it's so frustrating. Behind the masks, we get into all of it, and I feel like we as a board or committee, whatever the word is at the moment, is being attacked also. We're trying to get you every information that we can get to. And I know there's concerns. I know people are worried. It's change. It's all of that. But please understand, the tone goes both ways. It really does. And all I'm asking is that everybody has fears. Everybody has concerns. We just respect each other and the questions and the concerns. And we are trying to give you the information that we can give you that's as accurate as can be. And then we pass it to the school board. But I'm sorry, I took your loudness for.
Well, you gotta know that I can't get rid of recent people. I don't know where you go on this.
Sorry, it's not. Everything's like echoing in here, so you're trying to find
If I may, the kind of the spirit behind the question is, have you accounted for special ed? The answer is we have accounted for special ed the same way that the RSU does at this point, which is state historical state budgeting and whatnot. If something happens above and beyond that, it does have to, it's no different if costs increase, the RSU has to account for those. If costs increase because of that, then the local unit would have to. We've had to do that in the past when we were standalone. So yes, there's state obligations and federal obligations on special ed, and those have to be met. That is not in question. What the question is, can you hang a number on that? You can't hang a number on an unknown. So all you can do is say, okay, this is what we have budgeted in there based on where the costs are we have seen at this point. If something changes on that, then it would have to be addressed, and how we then fund that becomes discussions for the school board and things like that. And then it opens up the whole meeting with how do you do it? And how you do it is can have many different answers. And so, no one is disputing the fact that if there is indeed special ed need statutorily or legitimately has to be covered, then it has to be covered. But
You said that very well. You guys are selected and result here your decision, okay? And in my interpretation of selectmen, you guys are elected in place to kind of set the tone and hear everybody that's underneath you. And the questions I'm hearing right now are, how much of my tax is going to go up? If people can't afford to pay their heat bills now. The second thing, what's going to happen with COVID? And I hear all this stuff about budgets, but the core issues here are our children. And I haven't really heard anything that is making me feel warm and fuzzy other than you guys have the numbers down. That this is going to work. And I just got some real big reservations for that right now. With, we don't know about COVID, we don't know about the teachers, we don't know about this, we don't know about that. And it's the board of selectmen. You would think you would see all these issues. If I was on the board, I'd be like, well, we
also gives me that going to this life.
I'm a retired selectman, so I'm just a citizen right now, just like you. You know, I have a lot of history in this town, as you're probably aware. Raymond has been a standalone for a long, long time before we decided to join the RSU back in 2008 and 9. I actually was the chair of the committee that negotiated the whole RSU process, just so you know. I've seen it develop. We are paying right now $18,000 per child from Raymond to go to the RSU. The state average is a little over $16,000. The RSU average in RSU 14 is around $12,600. And you can look it up on the state website. You can go do all that research. It's out there. That means Raymond is subsidizing the RSU to a lot of money. Because we are a land-rich community. Our valuation is over $1 billion. We just write checks. That's all we do. Now, I agree with you. What impact will this have on the education of the kids from Raymond? That's the main question that we ought to be looking at. All this budget stuff doesn't mean a thing, because we're going to raise as much money as needed to educate our children, whether they're special ed or just regular kids coming through the school system. So forget the budget. The budget is what it's going to be. Raymond has never skimped on the educational budget, ever. Are there benefits to becoming our own independent school unit again? And I think there are. I mean, it's not like we weren't there before. It's not like we don't have experience doing it. We have. We have in the past. And we had successful schools. If you look at the test scores in the Raymond schools versus the test scores in the Wyndham schools, our Raymond kids do a lot better. Whether it's math, reading, anything. The Raymond kids do much better. So we already have a good base to start from. That's because we have good teachers in Raymond. I don't expect a mass exodus of teachers. Why would they? Raymond's a great place to work. We'll have to renegotiate a contract. It's been done before. I was the chair of the school board. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but we renegotiated contracts all the time. The question is the town of Raymond willing to accept a challenge of starting over again? But you're not starting from scratch. The base is already here. You know, we now have the town employees plow the parking lot in the schools. Because 5 years ago, there was a private contractor who couldn't plow those parking lots on time. But now the town does it, like we used to do in the past. There's so much experience in this town about things are done that I am not afraid of doing this. And I'm not worried about the budget one bit. You can ask all these questions about budget. It's going to be whatever it takes to educate these kids to the best level we can. That's what we're going to be looking at.
May I just ask you a question on that, and
Sure.
maybe even of the other committee members? I'm clearly for spending money on kids and educating them, and I am happy to spend more money to have a better education for our students. But my question is, then, if we're okay with spending more money, why are we showing folks a budget that appears, it has the appearance, and I know it's going to change. There's a few things, actually, I have a question for Marshall on. But why are we showing a budget that appears to save 1.6 million?
This is the best guess that Marshall and whoever worked on the project came up with. It's a guess. It's only a guess. As I said, we're spending $18,000 per kid right now. So you just multiply that out by how many, 600 and something kids. It's a $10.5 million budget.
And I completely understand that this is a best guess, completely. I'm concerned, I keep sucking this thing into you just like keep choking me. But my concern is that we are going to present this as a withdrawal committee to taxpayers and saying that this is what their estimated savings is. And then we're going to elect a school board. That school board may or may not say, we need to increase this. We need to increase this budget. Now I'm concerned that as a withdrawal committee, we're going to say, well, it's not our fault. We showed you what this budget is. It's the elected school board's fault. I'm very concerned about like a smoke and mirrors type thing or bait and switch type thing. So I guess that's great if we want to spend a lot of money on the kids, absolutely. But then why are we showing this savings? And I guess my request as a committee member would be, let's stop showing how much we're saving. You know?
I'm fine if we don't show a budget at all, to be honest with you.
But again, people,
My whole thing is this budget means nothing. And you shouldn't be voting on this to save money. That should not be the primary goal. The primary goal should be, is Raymond going to have local control again and self-determination of their kids that live in Raymond and what kind of education they get? That should be your primary goal.
but we do know a lot of people will vote based on a cost. But we have no control.
We don't know that. We're just assuming that may happen. But yeah, when people say to me, why should we, separate? And I said, because Raymond needs to control its own destiny on their kids. Just the way it used to be, when I first moved to town here a long time ago.
Thank you.
I would suggest maybe that it doesn't say the financial impact of withdrawal then, it says something like estimated budget.
Well, that's what it says, estimated savings.
Well, in two different places, on the left in a big circle, I do PowerPoints all the time, right? And this looks to me like what I would present to my board of directors if I wanted to engage in a cost saving measure, right? Here's gonna be the financial impact. Bottom line, you're gonna save $1.6 million. And that's how this slide appears. So I'm making a suggestion that maybe it should say estimated. And additionally, I work for a public company, so you have to call out everything that's missing. So I would have some asterisks in here that says, the impact of COVID can't be estimated.
But you have more finite numbers. You know exactly the numbers you're working with. This is all a guess. If you just take $18,000 per student, multiply by how many students we have, and go, okay, that's the number we're working with. We're not going to go below what we're currently paying, more than likely.
And I don't disagree, but I would present publicly as the financial impact of withdrawal. I would be upfront that it's an estimated budget based on the best we can.
Well, that's what we've been saying, and at least we've been saying that in these meetings, and hopefully people hear.
But this is all.
But if
So
you
people
look
are
at
not listening to your meeting.
I can't believe they're not listening. But I mean,
So your recommendation will be to estimate.
if you look at that slide, if you look at that slide, it says estimated, it says estimated, it says estimated. And so, yes, you can't make people hear, you can't make people read, you can't make people do a lot. But the fact is, we have tried to explain where this came from, why, how those numbers came about. But when we've had input from people in the meetings that said, gee, we have plowed those back in too. So there has not been a reluctance to listening to what people have asked for and reacting to that and adjusting for that. That same process, I would hope, would occur when you have your school board. That people will be able to go to the school board and say, this is what we want to do. They obviously at that point they've got to balance it against everything. But the hope would be that if you're at a local level, that there's more reaction to what your local needs are than when you're at the global level. And right now we're at the global level because we are the RSU.
I have three comments. Number one, I've been involved in town politics for at least 15 years, but I've never once seen a conversation not to a reasonable request. Number two, this is a proposed budget. It has never been my intent to have to walk away from this if the vote goes. I'm more than happy to spend my time with the next board, explain my logic, give them the numbers, and then assist them in whatever way I can. I think there's an illusion that I am going to walk away. I'm not. I'm in for this penny, I'm in for a pound. And I knew that was part of the deal. I have no problem going to the next board and justifying my numbers. If they choose otherwise, fine. I'm a big boy. Charlotte, sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to just say that I lived in this area for 45+ years. Prior to this RSU being formed, I do not ever once remembering the people of Raymond not supporting the children or the teachers of this town with the budget that they need. And I've encouraged some people here to do it. Oh, that's great. I turned to the opposite. That's wonderful.
This,
And also, to answer your question, you're wondering, he's thinking that people who want to vote for money. No, I think it's move on. We want our town back. We want Raymond. We don't want people from Wyndham deciding our fate. That's why.
just from a historical perspective, there's been one school budget voted down in the last 42 years. 1990, they asked for an 11% increase. I was on the school committee. I voted against it, saying the townspeople will never support 11%. That was the only time that a school budget was ever voted down.
And the follow-on to that is when it came back in, it was approved at about 9%.
Exactly.
Memory serves me correct. So it's not that it said, throw the budget out, you get nothing. No, it said, okay, go back and look at this. They came back and they got 9% instead of 11%.
My name is Melissa Messer. I am going to speak loudly and everybody can hear me. This is not a warrant of my attitude or my conversation. I'll make that clear to start. I'd like to start first by saying thank you. It's obvious there's been a lot of time, meticulous work to go through this to the whole community, and that's what happened here. I do really appreciate that because it's impressive. 2 years, this year, 2 years of paperwork that you've invested in creating this for us to review and look at. I tried to make it up in 15 days. I'm sitting here asking some questions today because I have some questions as a taxpayer and as a parent. It's funny you bring up 1990 because I drove here today in a car that's my mother's that's in 1990, and they call it an issue because there's been numerous other businesses that have come along as far as system. And don't we respect it? And I love it. I work on that car. I would rather work on that vehicle than I do it any day of the week. But there are more things that have come along. I think we can keep our eyes and minds open to that. So just a really couple quick points of clarification for myself that I have understanding. I searched freemancemeeting.org and clicked on the March withdrawal button, which I really love that you made that highlight earlier in the year. I'm looking for the frequently asked questions that have been referred to in these meetings, and I'm not finding it. Someone I need to go ahead and find those.
I just sent them to all of these guys to make sure, because there's so many different questions and I can't answer them all, so I sent them to the different people that can answer these. And it's a couple pages, and I think I just got the version back from Rolf, is what it is. And I just keep adding to them. But every time
No, that's great. Well, I feel like it sounds like people are going to check out information I can do on that is not redundancy. I just want to make sure I can see where they're from. Is that going to go on the RSU tab?
It is,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. And then secondly, there's referencing to a Facebook page to find information.
That Facebook page, I don't know how to do it, so it's going down. Because I started it, and I don't know how to actually really do it. I mean, I put some stuff up, but everything that's on there links you to the town page. So all information, else I put up there is when the meetings were, the budget, the survey, and that is it. So that's already all linked over to the town, so I'm just going to shut that thing down.
So the town website would be the ideal place for people to go.
Yes.
Those up-to-date and accurate information.
Yes, and it's, there's, if you go into the withdrawal tax, yes.
Okay, and then, could you verify for us, just for clarity, on the 22-step process from the state, what step number are we on today?
18, 10, Dan?
You know, I'll have to take a look.
Okay, so,
I mean,
Thought it was like
let's
14.
we can boil it back this way.
They've gone past 10.
The final approval came from the DOE for it to go forward. They have directed that the
and I can speak a little bit on our, the final approval.
the final approval came down from the DOE. So, and we have been directed that the vote will be on November 3rd.
Right.
So that really that will bring us essentially to the end. And then the steps after that are forming the school board and entering the agreements and things like that.
Okay, it doesn't need to be a long, I just wondered, because I'm trying to follow the process and what, I figured the voting is the next thing after this, but I just want to make sure I'm aware and accurately being discussing where we are in that 22-step process. So, somebody confirmed to me that on that Raymond'sMain.org website, there is a withdrawal link again that shows a list of committee members that have been involved in this process. Is that accurate as to people who've been? And so, for example, it says that, both, the representative, she said, Dr. Eastman, staff representatives, subcommittees, there's a graphic, Janie Cummings, Sarah Davis, Heather Freeman. Are those all accurate people that have been involved?
At one point or another in there.
Okay. So this list is 16 people, of which 2 are paid advisors, 2 are RSU board members, 2 are selectmen board members, 5 are town of Raymond officials, and 5 are citizens.
Let me take that for a second. In the budget process, I'm not stupid enough to stand up and do this all alone. I have sought assistance from the superintendent of schools that is not in this district. He has advised me. I have a very close connection with the special ed director of the 3rd school system that has taken a look at this. So those people I have, and others, I have used as advisors, but they are not official committee members because they are not residents of Raymond.
Oh, that's fine. I'm so glad that we have somebody that's advising us. Makes that a lot of people. I'm all for people with different opinions and input, so I can approach. What I'm trying to look at is how many of our citizens are actually aware and involved. It gives you a picture of, if we move forward, what kind of percentages are we talking about? We can look at the issues that are happening, but we also need to see right now what's happening. That's all.
Can I answer one more? I work with the town on the One Raymond concept with what they do with the plumbing and stuff like that, and I think you pulled in a lot of Raymond teachers for that
Well,
program.
that's my next thing, because
Okay.
I did look at that, and I went through every single meeting on that. I documented every person, and I'll have a total of 1,100 individuals. You're right, that did give advice. And so in total, according to what I've been able to see in paperwork, I kind of honestly have resorted to what's been in the meeting, because I feel a bit frustrated about trying to ask questions and then not getting specific answers, and that's just how my mind works. I like to know what we're looking at. But further meeting notes from the withdrawal committee shows 29 citizens in total have had some level of engagement, not counting the advisors that have helped you. That's a great note to have.
I'm sure
So-
that's not why I want to be.
No, I'm sure not. I'm sure the people on the chairs of Stock Advice, which is probably why you are the chair, because you have a lot of great contacts, absolutely. Raymond has 4,523 citizens, so if 29 citizens were involved, that represents 0.005% of our town population being involved.
We put in the newspaper, people to join committees, we put it on the Facebook page. We are
I
thankful for
understand
people.
that, comment right now, I'm just making a comment, and I'm just making an observation, that's all.
I've never had with any committee that you saw.
Okay, so, in the withdrawal committee meeting dated November 24, 2018, agenda item number 17, entitled Subcommittee Setup, page 9, Dr. Eastman advised the committee that in his opinion, he needed to build a broad base to make committee, to get more people involved and more people talking about it. Later in that paragraph, he noted that about 70 people would be ideal in the committee in a conversation, lots of different opinions. In November 14, 2008, Withdrawal Committee, page 1, Dr. Eastman, during his introduction as an advisor and consultant, stated, the process is an opportunity to discover if the withdrawal process is what the citizens want for the children. And then I really appreciated you guys put a survey out. I think it was connected to the PTO, that's where I found it, back in July of 2020, yes. And 98 people responded to that survey. We tried to bring it up the other night as far as what the citizens of those 98 citizens said. So I took that list and I took down and responded to the question, which was your first three questions. If you support or oppose the withdrawal, why? The top result, both supporting and opposing, was a statement involving cost, the word money, or the word finances. 41 people said that out of the 98. The next top result was 24 statements involving the ability of resources, access, and academics or sports activities. Number 3 response was the word local control. There were 8 statements that said local control out of those 98, and 18 people went the line there. So the biggest concern to that surveyed group of people, and I think what you're hearing today as well, is cost. And it has been the conversation that has been driving these meetings all along, because as taxpayers, if we build taxes up and say, oh, well, we didn't account for the transition, and we're not going to account for it because who knows what happens, but we know what's happening right now. We are going to drive up the very families we need for this community if we are raising our taxes up too high. I really appreciated Mr. Olson's response in the document dated January 20, 2019 in the public workshop when he stated, we are looking for your questions, concerns, and thoughts so we can build a coherent plan. I love that. That will address those issues as well as the budget and a number of other things. To which RS teachers, Susan Raffet stated, since we have been with Linda, this is an RS teacher, we have been able to increase budgets, add extra courses, we have better curriculum. If we withdraw, we will lose that funding and the students will suffer. And that's a quote. In that same meeting, Mr. Lyon gave a response in part that says, I was a teacher for 30 years and went through the withdrawal process. Don't get the teachers out of the loop. Meet with them separately from a public hearing to answer their questions. I love that input. I was very concerned about the opinions of our teachers and our staff regarding this movement. So my question here is, I'm wondering, did the meeting with Raymond staff and teachers both at LPX and JSMS ever take place within the last 2 years?
That would have occurred under the subcommittee of programs.
Did a meeting take place then?
No, I was unaware that that was under my subcommittee until right now.
So further in that document, so that's dated January 10, 2019, on page 4, Teresa replied, getting input from her teachers is going to be huge. So since we didn't have that meeting, let's hear from the teacher's teacher, which is Principal Beth Peavy of Marion Elementary School. She stood before you on the very night and on January 10, 2019, page 5, in the withdrawal committee document stated, I am hearing that this is about kids. But the reason that we're at this point is cost. People cannot afford for our budget to increase. Special ed students can move into our town at any time and have a huge impact on our budget. I also heard that when special ed goes up, we'll take away from our regular education. We used to have 3 to 4 kid teachers per grade level, and JSMS was full. But what do you take away when we only have 2 to 3 at a grade level? We have 700 kids in our building right now. Will they want to come to our school if we separate? Our Title I percentage is the lowest in the district at 29.9%, which is below the level of federal funding. Will we lose those funds? And then Ms. Carter stood up right after that and said on page 6, our pupil care costs and the special education costs were the highest in the state when we were at home. With Wyndham, there's a life skill program, a day treatment program, and we could not do that very regularly with 1 or 2 kids. There is a cost effectiveness in numbers, which is what our current representatives on the Irish Board of Withdrawal Committee stated about special education numbers by talking on previous meetings. It is really, to me, unacceptable that this process has gone 2 years without a meeting with our teachers and staff. These people are, every word that you've used to describe them, extraordinary, incredible. We are entrusting our children's lives to them every day. I cannot be happier. I moved to this town for teachers Craig Wakefield and Jamie Cummings that have had the Susan Brackett, Beth we are incredible people. And to come to this point and not have had one meeting with those people, this is not a comfortable part. I think it was advised to you in January to have, I just think it's ridiculous, in my opinion. Question, was there a 5 to 10 year plan that you could guide me to, not just a 1 year possible budget, but a 5 to 10 year plan that we could look at what happens in the law? The law, you don't have time, I couldn't come up with you. A law in this withdrawal agreement says the first year is covered. The agreement is going to have to cover after that. And I'd like to see, or no, maybe there is a 5 to 10 year plan, or is the planning process, just for my clarification, was it only to go out 1 year?
Asking you that question, the answer is correct, because after 1 year, we have no authority over the school.
Gotcha.
That would be their issue.
Gotcha.
They would have a 5 year plan. I'm sure that our issue 14 is a 5 year, at least a 5 year plan.
Okay, so nobody else on the committee has like a business strategy or, okay, yes, it's gonna go up. We're gonna have that earlier in this meeting to talk about facility costs. Yeah, our facilities at the age where we're gonna implement that. There was none of that done.
That's correct, because even if we did, the first action that the board would do is say, we don't like that, we're gonna do something entirely different. So the board has to develop that because the board has to enforce it. So without, if we develop it, they have no buy-in. If they develop it, they get the buy-in to it, and they will then move it forward. So that is the responsibility of the school board when it comes to is to look at 5 and 10 year plan.
So I guess when you mentioned earlier my frustration with questioning, it just feels like it pushes to the next group, like we spoke up here, like, well, it would be the school board's part, because in a meeting with the withdrawal committee dated January 10, 2019, we were directly asked by Ms. Madsen, quote, when this goes to vote, will the citizens get more information about the long-term plan? The answer from Chair Olson was on, we have a number of meetings to go over all of that. We're currently developing those things, and that's why we brought in more recent as a consultant help with this 22-step process. On page 7 of that document, Beth Hughes stated, we want what is best for our students. Think first year, what are things going to look like? But dig deeper to find the long-term effect, not just year 1. We don't want to be in a position of cutting student services to save tax dollars. She asked in a future meeting that it would make those public figures discuss and plan. It's been 1 year, 8 months, and 6 days since that request was made. And again, I feel a little dumbfounded that it was something that was asked from a teacher to teachers, and we still have no answers. I just want to move on because I know there could be others. I waited as long as I possibly could, but I couldn't anymore. High school, document November 14, 2018, agenda item number 6, from page 7, reads as follows. Mr. Bruno said, I think it's important that we have school choice so people continue to send their kids to Wyndham. If we withdraw from the RSU, that is important. It is, I think. If you have kids in the school system right now, and you want your kids to go to Wyndham, there is no reason, even with withdrawal, that you can't send your kids to Wyndham. I just want to put a little personal caveat. There's only guaranteed for 10 years. Ms. State Representative said that those are some of the emails that I got that are worried about this process playing would their students be booted? I cannot see any educator or staff or whatever company that, and I think that we would have to put that in the negotiation, to which Mr. Wilson said we would have a contract. Again, that contract is only for 10 years. That directly affects me because my little guy will be in that and out of that 10-year window.
But if I might,
No, you just one minute, and then I'll let you comment if I may. This is stating that we got that email several times before, but I cannot see any school being get out. I really can't. If that's the case, then they're not in it for the kids' education. I can say that your child has the right to go there for choice. I cannot see when the mother putting us out of there. You know, the only issue that might arise, and I don't know where the 82% is, but it's happened with Poland. That Poland could not give us a contract because they could not take our kids because they were already full. It was a new school, and they could only take siblings at that time as far as high schoolers. Mr. Brewer said, and when you look at school population declining the way it is, there are opportunities out there. I'm not too concerned. I am concerned because we have fractured relationships with amazing people under the directorship of both Superintendent Howell and Superintendent Cindy Prince. Mr. Howell has done nothing but demonstrate his desire to seek to get to know our kids and to get to know us by being in the school. My kids are the same thing, you know. I know Mr. Howell, and walking around really impacts, you know, with us today. When you look at numbers of Wyndham and what's happening in Wyndham, perhaps you're not aware. I would think that this would have been something about due diligence. The population and demographics of the town of Wyndham is the second fastest growing municipality in the state of Maine. This is from wyndhammaine.us/documents that are March 23rd, 2015. And I say all these documents because I want to be a source of facts. Go find your facts and find the information that you need to find to make your decision. At the 2010 census, Wyndham's population was 17,001 people. It increased 14.1%. The same time, the growth rate of Raymond was 3.2%. Did anybody look at those statistics of demographic and population increase for the town of Wyndham and Raymond in this process?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you find as far as the school-age children numbers of Wyndham increasing?
Wyndham's school age population is growing much faster than Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we say, well, this contract's only for 10 years. So,
No. I want to stay on the population. I want to stay on site because I don't want to money the water or earn money enough. Let me just finish these numbers so that you know. The census age distribution changes the population between the two towns. In a closer examination of the graph on two key findings, there is a population shift happening in the residents and growth of women's population. Also noting a relatively strong growth in the school-age children. In particular, there are more children in ages 10 to 14 than expected on the growth base of this number between the kids under the age of 5, meaning more families, more kids. If Wyndham grows their facilities and has so many kids, what's going to happen to us at Poland is going to happen to us at Wyndham. So there are no guarantees. After 10 years, we have no guarantees. We have no guarantees for our kids. If the growing logic, looking at these politics statistics that are from the town website, are going to be provided for the students and take other students in Raymond kids to lose. And they're going to fracture the relationships that we have with our kids on sports teams and everything else. These ongoing withdrawal conversations are hurting our community, and Beth Keaton, the principal of RES, told you on January 10, 2019, committee withdrawal meeting, that this impact morale has an impact on morale on the community's teachers, students, before, during, and after. This is a principal who not only hears and sees her staff and parents, but she herself has lived here in Raymond and taught her kids in these very schools. If you are not listening into the expert advice of our local teachers and our local principals, who are you listening to?
Can I answer? Are you done yet? I'm sorry, I just want to make sure you were done before I.
I'm not gonna, I just will do one thing and then I would love to hear. I just want to close my research and my comments with this. Reviewing every single meeting, the withdrawal agreement, cross-referencing meeting notes from the last 2 years of documents in the last 15 days that you have made available to the public, you do not show that there's a cost savings or academic growth or possibility for our children. On the contrary, the numbers don't tell lies, and the spreadsheets are riddled with costs that we need to assume to continue the educational opportunities that our kids have, to support the staff and the teachers that are here, and to provide quality programming that the RSU provides today under the terrific leadership of Withdrawal. I appeal to those who are intimately involved to hear their perspective and to get their expertise of our school system. And when I hear your proposal petition of not talking to the teachers, not listening to what the community says, even though it's 98 people on the survey, I hear a need of control. Self-egos and control should have very little value in this conversation. And unfortunately, to me, it appears to be taking center stage. This is about our kids, this is about our teachers and staff, and this is about our community. None of those areas will benefit from a withdrawal. And I urge the community who's listening and those here to take time to reference the remarks that you're saying, do your research, know your facts before you go out in November. And I will use your very words from this committee from May 2015 to close. If we withdraw from the RSU, taxpayers would pay an estimated increase of 25% or more in their taxes. Our current trend of declining enrollment will likely result in cuts to staff and services. Raymond would be responsible for the entire cost of years to RS and JSMS. Representation via new school board will be K through 8, but none for the high school. And there will be limited opportunities for co-curricular programming. There's a plethora of others, but I hope that others will join me in voting no for withdrawal.
All right, Ralph, can I jump in? Okay, first off, I have the utmost respect for Chris Howe, the utmost. You see my kids through high school. He has been great to talk to, everything. Second, I don't see egos up here. I really don't. I just see a different opinion is what I see. The next thing is, as far as your comment was, newer things to come along, is what you said, with the card situation. We didn't know this was coming from December, this COVID, and it's changed everything. Everything. I mean, we have just, our world is on its tilt right now. The other thing is, who's to say Wyndham, because they are, and I watch some of their town meetings, it's crazy what they're dealing with down there. It's on overload with the building and stuff like that. Who's to say that they're not going to say after a while that, okay, we just can't do Raymond anymore? The good thing about this is, if we withdraw, we have a superintendent that can check out the opportunities for the kids and what is available and to be able to work out those agreements between schools. 10 years from now, I think right now we're in our 10th year from being together with the withdrawal, 11th year. So we're just right there with that 10 years. So a lot changes, a lot can change. We can't predict things, but that's when you turn around and you put it back into the superintendent of the school that we would have here and to make those agreements, to make those connections. We don't know what 2 years is going to bring from us. Trying to get people to answer surveys, on anything is crazy. Trying to get people to come to the meetings is crazy. We put out in the newspaper, come join it. We call people that we would think that would know, and it is the same people. And we're trying. I guess we are not out to make things bad for these kids. I wouldn't be in the profession for 25 years that I'm in with daycare. So I am all about the kids, or I would not do that. So I don't like the comments that do come out that we are not for the kids, because we are. And I've been on the select board for, 7, 8 years, and it is a tough position, but it's just a different opinion is what it is. And I know we talked about the other night too, I know Kate was trying to make a positive statement about not looking to the past. And it was a comment that you had made about not being accurate. I found the documents, and I don't want to go back to this with the choice. There was 3 choices on the table.
I have it right there too.
Two of them were withdrawal. 2 of them were closing during small, one was not, and that is scary to me. Because picture a town without a middle school and just an elementary school. So wait. I gave you your space. Now it's fine. Sorry, but when you have people wanting to move to town and there's only an elementary school, because there is that possibility. But I do think Chris is doing great things for this community, I really do, and I do think he's done things great for the school. But I also know that Raymond was really good beforehand too. And so we had asked, I've also have heard from staff that they don't want to speak up for fear that exactly this, where people will be attacked if they have a different opinion. So that is what I'm hearing. So I really try to be careful what I say, because I don't want to feel like I'm being negative. I don't have a big ego by no means, and I will do anything to volunteer, support, help. And that's one of the reasons why I got on the board. So that's just my comeback.
The point of bringing up this school, the middle school, JSMS is not on the talking block that they use.
You can't guarantee that, Alyssa. You cannot.
I can't get you, but I can show you what's happening today. What I know today.
Exactly.
What I know from the principal today. What I know from our school representative today. What I know from the.
I know that.
Today.
What about 2 years from now?
They have hired a person, they will look at JSMS.
Yep.
They invested in the roof, they invested in the.
Yes.
That does not take me on shutting down a school and moving your kids out.
Okay, but listen, February 2014, Katrina Sangster came on video, and I went back and watched it, and she had list out all the prices for what it cost. And the comment that came out as I looked at my grandma, I said, yeah, so why would they put costs on it if they're going to close the school down? And Katrina said, exactly. That is scary. But you can't guarantee 5 years. You don't know who's not going to be on the board. And what I did not just a second ago, I think this could have been avoided, all of this, if the school board would have had a meeting with us or just open dialogue with us. And I think the school board failed in that, because we are constituents, we are taxpayers, and we had questions, we had concerns. So my back was against the wall. I didn't ask anybody else to do it. I went and took the petition out. But it has to go back on the school board for people that represent Raymond that had questions and concerns and would not talk to the people of Raymond of how we could possibly solve this and fix this.
My point of that document was a committee report in 2014, and bringing that up, we listed one thing from that report. If we're going to list information, we need to list all the information.
What information are you talking about?
I'm talking about what the action was. It is my understanding that that committee was given, it was equal women, equal in their people. Equal amount of people, equal amount of representation, and they were charged by the school board to go figure out what you think, what you feel, what you see, and what any action can be. They came back with this document to the school board and said, this is what we feel. In my investigation of where the school board is today, not 10 years ago, not 20 years ago, not 5 years in the future, today, they are committing to keeping JSMS open with the principal behind and the teachers behind. The point to earlier taxes, the cost, whether we're talking about closing a school or not, if you're going to list a piece of data, you need to list all of it so the taxpayers in the community know it's not just fundamentally out of school. That was not the only option, and there are multiple options that they gave to the school board to review. I just want to present out that's why I stated everything that I said in every quote I gave. I gave a page number and a document so people can go back and watch it, look it up, quote by quote, and see what was said. Because we're not getting answers at these meetings. It's like, no, I didn't talk to the teachers. My personal conversations, but this, if it's a part of this process to control all of our things that is hierarchy, who's the one who works for me? Me, it's the kids, and our staff. And when I'm talking to them, I get a playground, which is minimal for this. I talk to all the students, I talk to the staff, I talk to the teachers, I talk to the administration. I came before you guys as a select board. I didn't have to do that. I wanted everybody's input. What would this affect you? What do you think of this? What would you use this for? What would you do different? We have
reached out. We really have. We have tried. Oh my goodness, we have tried 2 years of this. And that's another thing that is.
You were, wait, I've never used this for action. You reached out to the teachers?
Huh? I have talked to teachers. And I cannot put their names out there because.
I'm not asking for names. I'm asking what's an opportunity for teachers and staff from RES and JSMS to meet with you as a collaborative committee or a subcommittee to express themselves, their concerns, their opposition or their support, so that we have a better idea for teachers what we can do to support them.
I looked at this, the ones that came to the meetings felt comfortable enough to speak out about it. The ones that did not come did not feel comfortable. That is my opinion.
Well, that's unfortunate to me because that's a person that has voted for selection. I would find that to be your charge to get that information. It's just a difference.
I'm not going to force somebody to come to the table. There's no way. I would never do that to somebody.
You only have to set up a meeting.
Let me ask one simple question. Why did you not come and volunteer to work on the committee?
Because I was doing many, many other things for the town. And any of these people can sit and tell you what they're doing. So it's not like you're finger pointing now, this is where people come in. I would work selfishly, Sarah and I work with the school board to talk about what we need to do. I've been in that other things for 5 years. If you want to go down there, I promise you it's easy on me. I promise
Okay,
you.
we gotta get back down, back down. Back down.
Let's also answer the other question that she asked, was why is this agreement only for 10 years? Because that's all the state will allow us to contract for.
So then
It
you
will be
have to say
renegotiated, it will be renegotiated as it goes along, as it had been in the past.
But that's just because our little guy has passed that 10-year date. You cannot say to people they are guaranteed to stay at Wyndham. They're not after that 10 years.
There's
And
no,
I guess
no guarantee that Wyndham won't shut us down. You cannot say, is there a guarantee that they will not shut us down? You cannot say that. They can say, at this point, we have no intention to do that. All we can say is we have a guarantee for a 10-year thing, which was the maximum that the state will allow us to break that contract. It will be renegotiated as it goes along to make sure that that continues, that availability continues. That's what's happened in the past. That's what will continue in the future. But when the state says you can only break that agreement for 10 years, we can't break it for 20 years. We can't break it for 15 years.
I didn't ask that. I clearly stated when I speak. There are agreements. What we know is today.
Yes,
And the data today
yes.
does not support it.
We only know what we have today, we don't know what we have tomorrow for anything.
I just want to say I did volunteer for the committees. I sent at least 4 emails through the link. There was a link on the website that said, if you want to volunteer for a committee, submit this. And I did 4 times. I volunteered for a number of committees. I'm an attorney by trade, and I thought that negotiating the withdrawal agreement would have been a prime committee. I volunteered for every other committee except curriculum because I don't teach. I'm not a teacher. I don't want to tell teachers how to do their job. When Teresa and I got engaged in another issue different from this, I mentioned that I was frustrated by my lack of response, nobody reaching out. I had at least 4 times begged to be on a committee. I even stated the committees all I wanted to be on. Then she engaged me and said, well, the one that really needs your help is the curriculum committee, the one I had admitted from the beginning I had. I don't feel like it was a process. And a similar situation I had in Raymond, which just so you know where I'm coming from and my tone might be coming from, I was the president of Raymond Rec. You're hiring a rector. Raymond Rec funds every program in this town currently until you get a rec director, until you got a rec director. And I called up the town and said, wait, I hear you have a committee interviewing a rec director. You have anyone from Raymond Rec on here? Well, you just started in Raymond Rec. We don't really know you, so yeah, no, sorry, you're not really eligible to be on the committee. As the president of the group that runs the recreation activities. So if you want to know where maybe my ire, my passion, my frustration with this town comes from, that's it. That's it. And input is important, and engaging people is important, and getting buy-in is important, and it doesn't always feel like that is valued here. And yes, I have a different opinion sometimes. Sometimes you can shut up with the same opinion as you. Well, I value local control.
May I ask you why you keep looking at me?
Your American flag is the most interesting of the bandanas. No, it's not. You're maybe not a select board, so I feel like I'm not attacking the people currently sitting there, I guess. This is probably, but no, it's not. The camera probably can't see who I'm looking at, but I'm not intentionally looking at anyone. I'm telling you where
kidding, by the way.
my frustration comes from, where you can see where my tone, my cry is like Teresa's talking about, because I feel like input isn't valued.
I'm just trying to lighten the mood a little bit.
That one thing that at least I scheduled 8 distinct separate budget meetings. I had 0 show up, 6 of them. I believe that you gave me some input at one point in time, and Kate did also. And that's where our community involvement is. The biggest part of this budget process, nobody wants to show up and do what we want. And that includes the school staff.
I think you could have scheduled a meeting with school staff during school, or right after school hours, and I think they would have minute.
I just want to clarify that, step 15 is the 22-step process.
Oh, it took you that
I saw step 3. Yeah, wait a minute. I think we're on 14 because we have it scheduled for 35 days beforehand for the date, so that's step 15.
Well, the commissioner notified us yesterday.
Okay.
Feedback.
And we will probably be jumping to 16 pretty quick.
Yeah, and all the rest of the steps are around the
I just want to clarify, this is to you, Teresa, I want to clarify something, because you and I have been communicating on social media as well.
Yep.
Stretching volunteering for sports. So the rec department in this town, I'm not sure what you're paying our rec director for, because he has not done anything, and I have been told that he's been moved to a part-time position as well.
No, he's a full-time position, but what happens, he came on and we got COVID. So what we did is we tasked him to go to Tasseltop first, because he is now taking over Tasseltop. And we also have campers there with reservations and stuff like that. And so then he's bridging out from there is what he's doing. I understand he's worked with Mark Anderson.
Yes.
He's worked with Ray. He's worked with some different people. And, yep.
Okay. So the rec department covers pre-K through 6th grade. For middle school sports, 7th and 8th grade. So for middle school sports, you need a parent who's available right directly after school. That's why normally it's teachers who volunteer, do an amazing job. Mr. Keller, Mr. Powers, I could go on and on about all Dean Asler, all the wonderful teachers who volunteer for those. Most parents in this community are not available directly after school for middle school hours to catch the bus and take the students to where they need to go. As a parent, I have a 5th grader who started JSMS as a 9-year-old. Okay? We should not be having our 9 and 10-year-olds on a school bus with 13 and 14-year-olds going. They have some nights they're not getting back till 8:30. I don't want my 9 or 10-year-old, no offense. I'm going as a teacher. I don't want my 13, 14-year-old with 9 and 10-year-olds. They're two developmentally different and way different places in their life. So I just wanted to clarify that for you. It's not that parents don't want to. Because quite honestly, all of our rec programs, we would not have if it were not for parents in the town.
So they ask you a question on that? So they're saying, okay, so pre-K through grade 6, they're on the rec phase. Okay, so for school games,
For 7th and 8th grade only, because most of the schools that we play, their middle schools do not go down to the grade. So with the exception, I mean, I'll give you an example. We have basketball.
yep.
We play Lake Region. You've got some kids there that are 6'2", full facial. They're putting about creation. I'm putting my 70-pound
Yeah.
at the time, 5th grader. I mean, that's like stupid. Like they hold the basketball like this, and nothing would happen, right? So it's not physically possible, as well as logistically. The logistics aren't able to do it.
So, right, no, and I guess it's
And
important to
one
get out.
exception, Teresa, cross country does start
Yeah,
at
cross-country.
because that's not competitive, so the height weight.
Well, we talked
Wait.
about current situation.
Just a minute. The microphone has a hard enough time picking up from one speaking. If 3 or 4 are speaking, it probably can't pick it up. So
Okay, so ask a clarifying question. So 5th graders right now really don't have any school sports.
They can do cross country.
Yep.
Because those buses go very quickly, they run, do their thing. Some of them are very fast, but
They can do it after school for a bit.
yes.
Okay.
They're home very reasonably.
So you guys don't have like a school 5th, 6th program and then 7th, 8th program, like in the middle school? Okay.
Random records.
That's why, and here's the thing, so you need to understand as far as students as well, the side of your students, if you look at the logistics of the demographics of the ages, we're either in some grades, a lot of boys, some grades, a lot of girls. So that's why, being in the RSU, a number of our students, we have one kid who's really, truly interested in doing the ski program.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2 that wanted to do swimming. We don't have the numbers to be able to have a field hockey team, and all of these other teams, even if we included 5th and 6th grade. But again, you've got to compare to the schools that were
I wouldn't have that. And I think listening to Sarah talk before that they had to bring a couple kids up to fill a team. But I also know, if I'm not mistaken, we're still on separate leagues. Like for softball and baseball, I think we play in one league, and basketball we play in one league. And when the
So in the last year and a half, we've really established a relationship with Wyndham's basketball program for the younger kids.
okay,
Like our sons right now have an opportunity to play in Wyndham. They're doing a program out the door, coaches are volunteering right now, just giving our boys an opportunity in 8th grade to play basketball with people they will possibly be playing basketball with for the next 4 years.
but is that a basketball camp? Is it a basketball summer program? Is it a
program? The summer coaches decided to get together and find funding within the community of Wyndham and extended the opportunity to students of Wyndham.
okay?
No.
So this is good to hear this. It is, because trying to break that down, because I think it was got done talking to somebody the other day, and like they said the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I'm like, well, what about 5th graders? You know, they're just kind of like there, and then the school not understanding what to do. So
Well, there are different wings in the school too, right? Like the 5th and 6th grade. I mean, quite honestly, in the H, then there's Jordan Small. The 5th and 6th stay in their wing. The 7th and 8th stay in their wing. Like she has a daughter in 5th grade. My daughter was very excited because she's in 7th grade this year, but she actually saw her passing at the water fountain because they have such little time with each other.
yep.
And our students go to, as I understand it, we have a number of students that go to Wyndham for field hockey because we can't field a field hockey team. And the coach is actually from Wyndham, but she sends her kids to Raymond, and she has recruited a lot of our Raymond kids that want to play field hockey to go to Wyndham. Those are opportunities, unfortunately, at the middle school level we won't have in the future.
Well,
I don't think you have the numbers to fill, like, to offer all of these amazing programs that a lot of our does.
right.
You know, if we have committed to number of field hockey, you know, some of my daughter and friends go and play in Wyndham because we don't have those here. But taking us out of the RSU, it's not a guarantee that those schools will be able to play all the sports, especially at contract time. But us as a community in Raymond, we don't have the numbers to bring in. I know the other night when you and I were talking over Zoom, it was, well, let's just bring in wrestling on it. We don't have.
Who, me? No, I didn't.
You and I were talking about sports, because I run Wyndham right.
Oh, you're Mandy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There you go.
Well, yes. All right. I see you said yes.
Mark and I run the soccer program. But if you want to try to bring those in, you don't have to have any sports. Because it takes, 13 kids to make a soccer team. Okay, 3 of those, 4 want to play, I want to try wrestling. Well, there goes the soccer program. We just don't have enough students to fulfill all of those sports that being in the RSU allows us.
So with that being said, I know for a fact that Wyndham used to have a huge wrestling team. Huge. That the kids would have to have wrestle-offs. This last couple of years, it's really dwindled down. So what they're doing is, I know they're hooking up with, I think, Ray and Gloucester, and I know that some of the kids here in Raymond, if you go down to the middle school, they like to do, they have these programs, I think, on Friday nights and Saturdays or whatever for teaching the kids and stuff like that. And I'm not assuming anything, but that still may be that open community thing back and forth where we still take our kids to come down. And again, I'm not assuming anything. Chris is saying no. Okay. Yep. Right.
I get the feeling from the last 15 minutes of conversation that if we in fact withdraw, an iron curtain goes up in town line. I can't see that happening. I think the integrity of the RSU management and administration, the integrity of the Raymond administration, town people, they would not allow that to happen. It's about the kids. They can't, just see an iron wall going up. I don't think that's going to happen at all.
I just want to make a point. I've been in touch with Lake Region as well as the district officials. Both of the parents that I have spoken to, there have been drastic changes within their school environments that are not positive at all, and they are now sending their kid out of the district that they, the result they're sending them back there, because the level of education and staff, I mean, do you know how many teachers are needed in the state of Maine? Quite honestly, the size of this district is beneficial to attract quality candidates. And people are fleeing for them for a reason, right? Staff included, okay, because of how things are run. So it's very important to understand, as a professional, I want to go to a district where I'm going to be created opportunities with students as well as professionals. The level of services that are being provided by the RSU now is drastically different even just 5 years ago. And the improvements that have been made since Superintendent Powell has gone into place are amazing. And I'm not just saying that because he's in the room. But I just want to make that clear, like, the school board reception, I reach out often, very often, they'll answer my questions, because I'm very concerned about everything. The level of our special education, again, 5 years ago, the curriculum coordinator and the special ed director are amazing in the district for a reason. I don't think we'll get that level of staff. I think we will see people leave the district and go to someplace providing more opportunities if we compartmentalize. That's just my personal opinion.
The way I end it by saying, we think the teachers that the students are not resident themselves.
But it depends on your school board decides. If you put them in a box and tell them this is the budget we're going to work with, it can be quite frustrating. I mean, that's part of why so many people are leaving Portland, because their places are not being
For a lot of years.
no, that's where I work. We don't have time to talk about that. So, but yeah, a lot of reasons. But that is one of the reasons they do not feel supported or listened to. So. I mean, you brought up that I haven't been spoken.
Just one comment and then question. I just wanted to share a positive experience that I've had with the school board, because I think it's, because of the RSU, because it's so easy to focus on, we have different ideas, and I think that's all welcome, but, so, and we moved to the umbrella to the RSU, we've been doing it for 10 years, but I know it's new for some people here, but my oldest is now in second grade, and last year, I don't think everything's perfect. There's always everything everywhere can always be improved. And I asked for a meeting with school administration last fall. Within 24 hours, turned back and was immediately invited in for a meeting, shared a variety of concerns, but various opportunities that I saw. Volunteer to roll up my sleeves and help organize some parents to get it done, recognizing that no matter what school district you're in, the staff and teachers are overextended for all the reasons that we know. And the one thing that we all went on was to do outdoor classrooms, and it was so inspiring. I said, we need these outdoor classrooms, please, and everybody said, yes, we do. I asked Ms. Peavy to schedule a meeting, when would be the best time to schedule a meeting with staff. I think this is important for everybody as we move forward, regardless of what happens. And she invited me to speak at the scheduled staff meeting, so not putting more burden on overextended teachers. So we put a survey out ahead of time to teachers. They filled it out. We came up with a plan based on the results of the survey. And the district presented that to the teachers, got additional feedback, met with various people in the RSU from Wilmington to Tom, other areas, and worked with the Boy Scouts who are from all over the district, from Wyndham, and from some other towns, to get these 3 gorgeous classrooms done in less than a year. Met with the school board in the interim, and we all worked together. We all went to approval for the physical building. I'm going to just present that to say that there are ways to get really impactful things done, and really positive changes done within the current system, and in fact has encouraged and supported. So I just want to share that. And this was an inspiration because you were on the first calls and with your experience from the playground, this is a larger project. I'm not saying you did that at completely zero cost to the RSU, all of everything was volunteer. My question, which is more logistical, is right now, preschool is, sorry, it's all about the kids, and I have kids that fall into this category. Right now, preschool is full-time and they run a bus. And so preschool, as we suggested, goes to half-time, a morning slot, and then can you change that to be full-time?
No, it was not suggested, it's an option. The board can choose either one of them. Enough room for both. In my personal opinion, full-time pre-K is dangerous for the kids and for the staff.
Dangerous?
Yes. How are you going to keep those kids separated 6 foot apart from pre-K?
Wait, I'm sorry, so now we're talking about the COVID considerations.
Yeah, I'm talking about, that's what, that was the logic behind putting in enough for Plan A or Plan B. Or chooses.
How do you think daycares have, I mean, I guess Teresa, she runs a daycare, I mean, they've been open longer than our schools have, and they haven't had outbreaks, so I know it's an interesting.
I know, I haven't bubble kids though, but now we're because we have school kids coming in, we're even more precautions, and we've got to wear masks in the 5. And we do have in school though, they are exposed to a lot more people. Yeah, we talked about this a lot.
Okay, so I guess I understand that, yes, this will be a challenge there. I guess my question, and I know we're not supposed to focus on the budget, but I do have a budget question, is if you go, I'm just trying to understand. Was there transportation cost added into this budget for the half-day pre-K? So I assume you would need to run a whole nother bus route to keep the same service.
What transportation costs are you talking about?
Well, if
If we
it's
do
a half-day
if we
pre-K,
do.
there's gotta be a midday bus route, right? Because right now, with the pre-K kids on the bus.
What about the equipment on the buses?
What?
What about the equipment on the buses?
The what, sorry?
What about the equipment on the buses?
I don't understand the equipment.
Do they have seat belts? Do they have?
They don't. That's actually part of the question too, is there part of the budget to add? I'm just trying to understand the background, what's being considered or not. Because if right now, what we have is full day pre-K with transportation included, and we said everything.
I see.
Understand, I'm not.
No. I see because this is a big issue with preschool full time in the budget, and it's
in there.
Full time all day, not half day.
For 20 students, it's in there.
All day or half day.
It suggests that we can only go to 16. Great. It's in the
No,
other
that's a
16.
state mandate, I didn't suggest that, it's a
Well,
state
yeah,
mandate.
State, as you remember, speaking for the state, said.
But for full time,
Which means
Full time, right?
15 full time.
and since we are talking about,
And that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah. Nope.
I have a follow-up on that. So in the budget, if you remove it to full-time, my thought, and I could be wrong on this, that you have 2 assistants for that room. Weren't they part-time, each one was part-time?
Again, that's another suggestion. Plan A, full time, 1 lead teacher, 2 assistants. You call them intake ones or whatever you want to call them. 2 assistants.
But do they work full-time or
Full
part-time?
time. I said full time.
Because I thought you had once said
Wait,
part.
let me finish. Plan B, half-time pre-K, 1 full-time teacher, lead teacher, full-time. If the school board chooses, you've got 1 half-time at tech, and 1 half-time at DM after that. Or 1 full-time, 2 full-time for each one. It doesn't matter that it gets in there for 20 people, 3 staff. I am not about to go tell Randy how to run his operation.
It'd be deputy, not me.
Or Chris, I'm not about to tell him how to run his operation. I budgeted enough money to serve both actors. You choose.
So 3 full-time, 3 staff full day for 16 to 20.
Yep.
Great, thank you, that's all I'm just
Which gives you a ratio of 5 to 1.
I think that's how.
I thought earlier you had said,
Well, I wanna piggyback on something that you were talking about before, when you were talking about the outside class and things like that. None of that would have been possible had it not been for the town of Raymond getting a bigger piece of land than the state would allow for that school. The state said, we only allow you this much for that school. We bought this amount. That gave us additional things there. That is the things the town of Raymond does for the schools. The helping of the helping to build that and things, that was done by the Eagle Scout. The Eagle Scout, who was a Raymond person who came in and did that. He got other troops involved in there, and that's where the outer line thing came from. They didn't just come in blindly and say, oh, let's go and help there. He organized all that. That was organized by a Raymond person going out and finding the people that help get that done. Those are the type of things that the people of Raymond will do for the school.
Well, I couldn't correct that because I'm in that group. My husband is a scoutmaster with the Burmese group. And we do things as a group. It is Eagle Scout to organize. That's the whole point, is for them to lead. I connected with Eagle Scout when we figured out this project. There are Eagle Scouts. We go to Eagle Scout projects in Wyndham and serve together with them. We go to Poland, we go to wherever. That's a part of the Boy Scouts of America experience. To create a young man or a young woman now, that can be a leader and take on an initiative. And so there were plans on both of our committees in that territory that were Wyndham parents with Wyndham children in our schools. So it wasn't just a Raymond team for either one of those circumstances. It was both needs.
What I'm saying is the Raymond person, that was his Eagle project, the scouts do a very good job of getting all the other units involved and things like that. But the core of it was a Raymond scout that organized that project. He got help from other people. When ones in Wyndham have one, our scouts go and help there. So that is one of the nice things with sharing the scouts. And that's.
Do you know why Brooklyn chose that? He didn't even go to school here, maybe. He went for 2 years. Do you know why Brooklyn, the Eagle Scout that did the project, did it at RES? Because he didn't go to school here. He goes to school in Portland. He did it because of Janet Cummings, he was teachers. So, we're going to get into the details of that. And what it's about is that the purpose of the Eagle Scout project is to serve your community and to give back to people like Janet Cummings Sergeant, who has done so much for our community. Our troop is trying to repay a small portion to her of what she's given to our community. It's supposed to be in your hometown. This is his home, my neighbor. This is his hometown. His family and I are friends. He wanted to serve Raymond because he was so appreciative for the foundational start that teachers like J.D. Cummings at RES gave him to start.
And that is a Raymond resident, it doesn't negate the fact that it's a great effort.
I just have go, Chris.
I was just wondering if I could just clarify something, because Teresa, you had acknowledged, first of all, thank you for letting me speak for a minute. Teresa, just want to clarify something on cooperative teams in the level, and actually cooperative teams in general. So cooperative teams work when you are relying on the two schools to get enough numbers in order to be able to run a team. Where a school district runs into trouble with cooperative teams, and let's say you have 23 kids from one town and 2 from another. When you try to do a cooperative team like that, oftentimes that other town or 2 is excluded because those 2 kids would be preventing some kid who might be kid number 23 from participating. So here's a kid from an outside community. So typically with high school teams, in my experience, when you have one kid coming from another town, it doesn't work well because it's eliminating some other kid who might be from the community academy in order for them to play. So I just want to clarify what I know.
No, I thank you for that. I really do, because I just know from the wrestling before we pulled in some other kids, but no, thank you for that.
Yeah, I just want to, and the other thing I just want to, while I'm here, I just want to talk about building small for a minute, because I know it's not going to talk to Zoom meetings. I truly, I know the history of building small, I know the history, I think it was 14, 15, where it worked looked at the option of building small, and nobody's denying that was also happening. And I just put some of that in context, which is that the RSU had 2 aging middle schools. One was Withdrawal Middle School, the other one being the middle school, and then no hope of any state funding for a middle school project. And so it was looking at I think the piece that we need to kind of slide in here is in 2018, when the RSU was informed that the middle school was put on number 5 on the state priority list, which changed the whole discussion as far as what the future was of small middle school. Because even in the cost sharing agreement, which is very clear for school projects, Wyndham's responsible for its costs, we're responsible for its costs. Wyndham is very aware that in addition to a new middle school is going to be the responsibility of the Wyndham taxpayers. So if they want to build a bigger cafeteria, go up to suggested a little bit more land, or do other things, Wyndham taxpayers know that they know that. What my biggest worry, and Teresa and I had a great phone conversation earlier today. My biggest concern that I've been working on, and probably none of you are even aware of this is happening, is that we hired an outside consultant who's designed schools all around the world to look at what does middle level education look like, go through a vision process, because we're only going to get one shot at building middle school. We want to make sure it goes right. In addition, though, that same person has been working with Randy and team leaders to look at, we're going to be building some sort of classroom structure or opportunities for kids to live in. We better be building the exact same things for middle level kids here in Raymond. And so maybe at some point that we're going to be coming before the select board and say, Randy and his team identified some innovations that need to happen to join small in order for some team concept pieces, for some additional programming, some expansion of the stage, cafeteria, which could be a little bit larger, and of course it could be one lunch. Some possible additions that may be coming forward, but the whole conversation changed in 2018. I just want you to know that you probably don't know any of this is going on. It probably isn't super public. I think it appeared in one newsletter I sent out, and nobody was something anyway, because of the law. But just know that right now, short and small is a priority. It has been a priority. We've been putting money into it. As I also shared with Teresa, I'm a very firm believer that schools are part of the identity of the town. And Raymond needs to have a strong elementary school and needs to have a strong middle school. There's no question about it, and it's going to take evening game. So I just want to be clear, I know it's been thrown out there, definitely was the past in 2014, but please know that that is not the direction our city is talking about. We've invested a significant amount of money in the last 3 years to upgrade the plant, the roof, the siding, making sure, but we have other plans for it. We hope to have that opportunity. November will tell. The citizens of Raymond will need to determine which direction they want to head at that point. But after that, no go forward is we have some plans for that place.
Thanks for that, Chris.
So I just had, and I know we're trying to wrap things up, but I just had, I have a meeting at 3. That was actually just a phone call about it, so sorry I missed about. But I know, Marshall, you're working on updating the very much estimated budget, correct? For the next slide?
No.
Okay, so are we?
No, please.
Go ahead.
I understand there's input coming from administration, which we will discuss. If it's applicable, we will put it in. I have not moved the 22,000 out of special ed into CIA yet, but those 2 things are the only ones that I'm aware of. Okay.
So my question is, what about the extra bus that Randy has requested?
That goes, if we get it, that goes in.
What do you mean if we get it?
If they approve the budget. I am not aware that they've approved the budget. I know he's requested it.
Isn't he requesting it moving forward? Because we only put, maybe I misread that email. The email that.
No. Please. Randy has requested a 7th bus. As far as I know, that has not been approved. If it gets approved between now and November 3rd, I'll put it in the budget.
Am I misunderstood?
Did he request it for this in the proposed budget or for the school budget?
No. What he said, he looked in the withdrawal agreement, there's certain buses and certain vans that are there. And he said, is there a way to have one more bus and 2 less vans?
The original plan, as I understood it, budgeted for 6 buses, 4 vans. Randy came back to me and asked, could I see if a 7th bus was possible? And being a little bit flip, I said, would you trade 2 vans for a bus? And I'm not sure where that stands. I have not been informed of any decision whatsoever.
So you can't change the agreement now.
Right,
The agreement's the agreement. That's what you have.
but I can't change the budget either on an unknown.
Right. So I mean, if you want a new bus, the new school board has to put in for a new bus in front of the town, whether it gets state funding or not, that's up in the air.
Okay. And so then too, if we are adding stuff, or debating if there is additional things, I would say that we would want to make sure that any bus that does pick up a pre-K student would have to have seatbelts on it.
I would assume whatever buses we have for pre-K, we would inherit.
It's my understanding the buses that we're getting in the withdrawal agreement do not have seatbelts. So those,
That's why I asked the question of Kate, whether you could run on the buses.
well, then I guess you would need to talk to the folks that did the withdrawal agreement because they don't have seatbelts. My next question is just understanding how you moved things, what you transferred over. So the bus that has the pre-K students also has an aid on there to help buckle the students. They have to be
I'm aware of what decision they made on any pre-K, and that's.
Okay. So this aid is currently in the transportation budget. So was that carried over when you carried stuff over?
Was the transportation pre-K in the V9 budget?
Yes.
Then that was carried.
I'm just going to speak for Marshall here. I know what she's been talking about. I think you would have it in the budget.
Okay.
In the budget of Marshall to pay for aid on that bus.
Okay, thank you. And then my last one is just a comment for folks, is we talk a lot about kind of having our control, and if we do withdraw, we would have our control for K to 8. I think last night's school board vote around high school sports really speaks volumes on how we would possibly lose control at the high school level. For whatever, well, I know the reason, we had more people at that meeting than we have ever had at any school board meeting, including the meeting whether we should open up our schools or not under COVID conditions, okay? And we had some really good public input as well. The young woman who is our school board representative is a Raymond resident, and she does cross country. And she spoke last night about how she really wants to participate in cross country. The vote passed. It did not pass on town lines. It did not pass by a landslide. It was a 5-3 vote. The Raymond representatives didn't even agree. However, which is fine because we don't have to agree just because we live in Raymond, you know? I guess just what I'm saying is that young woman would not have had representation from the town that she lives in on the school board should we withdraw. And that, honestly, that worries me. Whether it's majority representation or not, she would not have had representation. So again, that is something that folks, whether they're watching this after or everyone here now, you need to understand that those kids 9 through 12, the majority of our kids, I understand some of them go elsewhere, but the majority of our kids will not have that representation. So that's just my last comment.
Chris, do you have student representations, or Jenny, your student representatives on the board?
Yes. Molly's has been our representation from Wyndham High School for 2 years.
I'm not trying to divert us.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Into an authority position on the board. I'm just curious whether you had that opportunity for kids to stand up and say, hey, we need this.
As long as I've been on the school board, we've had school children, high school students.
Right, high school.
There have been, in the last 4 years, 2 for women and 2 for men.
That's good input from that one.
Right. They're wonderful, and they're very clear.
We had one in the school that I worked for, after I graduated from high school, we ran for the select board.
Yeah, listen, Molly's gonna rule the world, I tell you.
She's great.
She's wonderful.
Okay, I want to thank everyone for coming today. The next meeting is Tuesday at 7 o'clock at JSMS. Same rules will apply as far as masks and things like that. The seating will be spaced out kind of like you're seeing here so that we can maintain distancing and whatnot. But if people are interested, a number of people have already RSVP'd on that, but it's not to turn anybody away, but it's more to make sure that we're not over committing the room, because we have the maximum 50 rule in there. So if you know people that are interested, rsu.withdrawal@raymondmaine.org, send in a request, and that way we have a count.
The meeting's at 6 p.m., right?
Yeah. I thought it was 7.
7? Oh, I have 6 down on my calendar.
But you get real early.
It's at 7 on the 22nd.
Because it was on Monday, we had the 6th one.
Alrighty. Better move that.